In 1998, in a quiet town in southern Chile, a 7-year-old boy named Matias fell from a tree. He slipped into a coma that doctors said he would never wake from. For 19 long days, he lay unresponsive, motionless, his eyes closed. His heartbeat faded so low that nurses had to check his pulse 3 times a night. Justo bisur, but on the 20th morning, something happened at 5:42 a.m. Before the sun had even risen, Matias suddenly sat upright in his hospital bed and gasped for air. But what truly frightened his mother wasn't that he woke up. It was that he began speaking a language none of them had ever heard before. At first, doctors assumed it was just confusion. Brain misfires, the standard disorientation that can follow a serious head injury and a long coma. But Matias kept speaking, and it wasn't just random sounds. It was fluent. His grammar was perfect. His sentences complex and structured. It took a language expert to finally identify what he was speaking. It was Hungarian. The problem was Matias had never been exposed to Hungarian in his entire life. He had no Hungarian relatives. He'd never seen a Hungarian movie, never heard a song. There was simply no explanation. Desperate for answers, his parents brought in a translator. The room was quiet as the translator listened, then looked at the small boy, a sense of disbelief on her face. She turned to his parents, her voice trembling slightly. He says his name is Andres. He says he's 35 years old, and he wants to know where his wife is. For hours, the 7-year-old boy recited details of a life that did not belong to him. He spoke of a life in a small Hungarian village, a life with a wife named Eva. He described a workshop filled with the scent of pine and sawdust, shelves lined with wooden toys he'd carved by hand. And then he spoke of a winter lake, the air sharp and cold, the ice thick and white. He described how he drowned there in 1981. He spoke of the shock of the cold water, the burning in his lungs, the panic rising in his chest. He remembered the deafening sound of cracking ice, and then darkness. Matias, as real parents, listened in stunned horror as their child, their little boy, spoke with the tone and vocabulary of a grown man. He was describing objects, places, and emotions from decades before he was even born. Concepts far beyond his own understanding. At one point, he picked up a pen and, with a steady hand, drew the layout of a Hungarian lakeside village. Perfectly. It was a place he had never seen, never visited, never even heard of, but somehow he knew it like the back of his hand. Investigators, intrigued and baffled by the case, decided to contact the Hungarian National Archives. They didn't expect to find anything. But the impossible happened. Records confirmed that a man named Andres Coma, a 35-year-old carpenter, had drowned during an ice fishing trip in 1981, exactly as the boy had described. The records also showed he was married. His wife's name, Eva. When they found a picture of her from that time, her description matched the child's words perfectly, right down to the small mole she had under her left eye. But the most disturbing detail, the one that sent a chill down everyone's spine, came when Matias asked the translator a simple question. Did they find my wedding ring? No one had mentioned a ring. No one had asked about it. This detail wasn't public. When the investigators checked the official Hungarian recovery report from 1981, they found the answer. Andres Chalma's body had been recovered from the lake, but his wedding ring was never found. Over the next few weeks, things at home became even stranger. Matias began waking up in the middle of the night, trembling and covered in a cold sweat. He told his mother that when he slept, he dreamt of 2 lives at once. In one dream, he was the little boy he was born as, playing in his yard in Chile. In the other, he was the drowning man, trapped beneath the ice in Hungary. He said he could feel himself in both bodies at the same time, a boy in a warm bed and a man in a cold lake. And each time he closed his eyes, drifting into this terrifying dual reality, he heard the same voice whisper in the dark, "You are not finished." Doctors dismissed it all as post-traumatic stress. The brain, they said, can create complex narratives to cope with severe injury. But then, the drawings began. Matias would sit for hours, filling page after page with sketches. Winter landscapes under a gray sky, snowbound houses with smoke curling from the chimneys, and Fatista. faces the faces of people he had never met, strangers from a life he shouldn't know. But one drawing kept repeating, over and over. It was a dark, frozen lake with a jagged hole in the ice, and a single hand reaching through, as if asking for help. In Arlinglingar, when Matias was 11 years old, his family decided to do the only thing they could think of. They traveled to Hungary. Guided by the memories that still haunted their son, they found the small lakeside village from his drawings. And there, they found Eva, the widow of the man whose memories Matias carried inside him. She was older now, her face lined with the grief of 2 decades. When Matias saw her, he froze. It wasn't in fear. It was a look of pure, heartbreaking recognition. He looked at her, his voice barely a whisper, and said in perfect Hungarian, "You kept the scarf." Eva collapsed in tears. No one else could have known. On the night before her husband Andres drowned, he had given her a hand-knitted wool scarf to keep her warm. It was a private, final gift. A scarf she had kept hidden away in a wooden box for 20 years. A secret treasure of her lost love. Before she even opened the box, Matias described its intricate pattern, the exact colors of the yarn Andras had used. It was impossible. Yet it was happening. But the story didn't end with that moment of recognition. On their final day in Hungary, Matias insisted they visit the lake, the same lake from his nightmares. He walked to the frozen edge and stood there silently, looking out at the vast expanse of ice. After a long moment, he turned to his parents and said something no one expected. "I don't remember the cold anymore. I think he's gone." When the family returned home to Chile, everything changed. The nightmares stopped. The Hungarian language that had so fluently poured from him began to fade, the words becoming foreign once more. The memories of Andres, of Eva, of a life in a snowy village, all slowly disappeared, like a dream upon waking. Matias grew into a normal teenager, the strange episode becoming a distant, unbelievable story. But there is one detail he says he still remembers, a final image from the darkness of his coma. He saw a man standing in the dark, wearing heavy winter clothes, and he was smiling at him. The man looked at him and said, "Thank you for bringing me home." Science calls it false memories. Doctors call it brain misfiring. Skeptics call it an elaborate coincidence. But if a boy thousands of miles away can remember the final breath of a man who died before he was born, if he can carry a stranger's love and loss across time and space, then what exactly wakes up inside us when we open our eyes?